On the way to the hospital, the driver suddenly slammed on the brakes and ordered, "Quickly, hide in the trunk and don't make a sound." I was terrified but obeyed. A minute later, a woman with a child got into the car, and when she spoke, I was filled with genuine dread. "Hello, and welcome to Life Through History. Before we begin, please tell us where you're watching from. Thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoy this compelling life story." Elizaveta sat in the back seat of the taxi, gazing out the window at the flashing lights, the neon signs of 24-hour stores, the traffic signals, and the reflections of oncoming headlights. It all merged into a blurry, shimmering ribbon that made her head spin. The day had already been difficult, and now it felt utterly endless, stretching into eternity, as if time itself was deliberately tormenting her. In the morning, before she had even fully woken up, she saw a message from the bank on her mobile. Payment overdue. Immediate repayment was required within 72 hours. Otherwise, the matter would be escalated to court. The amount that had previously seemed manageable now looked like an insurmountable mountain. The bank was serious. In small print below were warnings of enforcement proceedings, debt collectors, and property seizure. Elizaveta had just sat on the edge of her bed then, staring at the screen, feeling a coldness spread through her. Now that was compounded by her body suddenly rebelling. A few hours ago, a sharp, stabbing pain had appeared in her right side. Initially tolerable, almost imperceptible, it had grown steadily, becoming a constant burning reminder that she was not made of steel. The pain would recede for a few minutes, offering false hope, only to return with renewed intensity, forcing her to involuntarily wince and hold her breath. Probably appendicitis, she thought, her hand instinctively going to her abdomen, feeling the taut, hot skin beneath her fingers. She found a packet of documents in a dresser drawer, shoved it entirely into her bag without sorting anything out, and called for a taxi, as she no longer had the strength to walk to the bus stop. The driver arrived quickly, a burly man in his late 30s with short salt and pepper hair, tired eyes, and deep wrinkles fanning out from the corners of his mouth, as if from years of practiced silence. He didn't greet her or ask how she was, merely nodding when she gave him the address of City Clinical Hospital No. 7 and then set off without a word. Occasionally, he glanced briefly in the rearview mirror, not at her, but somewhere beyond her, as if checking if anyone was following them. The route was familiar. From her standard 9-story apartment building in the residential district, where she rented a tiny studio, to the hospital usually took no more than 30 to 35 minutes, even during rush hour. But today, traffic was unexpectedly heavy. Congestion stretched at every intersection. Cars crawled at a snail's pace, honking and changing lanes aimlessly. Elizaveta nervously tapped her fingertips on her knee, trying to quell her growing anxiety. After being laid off from her job in 2011, she had spent the past year working as a cashier in a large supermarket on the outskirts. It was demanding work. 12-hour shifts left her feet aching by evening and her back stiff, but at least she consistently earned the minimum wage plus small bonuses for overtime. This was barely enough to cover rent, utilities, food, and monthly loan payments. The loan she had taken out when her mother fell ill to help with medication now felt like a curse. The interest accrued faster than she could pay it off, and each payment drained her last reserves of strength. If I get fired for being sick, or even just moved to part-time, I'll be completely bankrupt, she thought. The mere thought made her insides clench even tighter. Thankfully, her mother had recovered and no longer needed the medication, but she would be left with debt collectors at her door. She tried to distract herself, looking at the bright shop windows flashing by outside. Clothes she could no longer afford, perfumes, jewelry, smiling mannequins in fashionable coats. But every turn of the car sent a new jolt of pain through her side, making distraction impossible. Suddenly, the driver's phone rang loudly in his pocket, a harsh, insistent melody that made Elizaveta flinch. He pulled out the phone, brought it to his ear, and answered in monosyllables, almost a whisper. The voice on the other end was female, but the words were unintelligible. The driver listened without interrupting, his face completely still, as if carved from stone. After a minute, he said curtly, "Be there soon," and ended the call. Elizaveta tensed involuntarily. Something about that brief conversation felt unsettling. She wanted to ask, but didn't dare. The driver already seemed disinclined to talk. The car continued for a few more streets, turning off the illuminated highway into a narrow, poorly lit alley where the streetlights flickered every other one and the asphalt was riddled with potholes. Then suddenly the driver slammed on the brakes, tires screaming. The car jolted and stopped by the curb, almost touching a scuffed concrete fence. Elizaveta lurched forward. The seatbelt dug painfully into her shoulder. "What happened?" she asked, looking around. Her heart began to pound faster. The driver turned to her, his face taut, his eyes darting around. "Quickly, hide in the trunk and don't make a sound," he commanded in a hoarse, uncompromising voice. Elizaveta froze, not understanding. "Is this some kind of joke?" she stammered, but there was something frightening in his gaze, a mixture of determination and fear. He glanced back through the rear window and hissed, "No time to explain. Do as I say if you want to live." Fear paralyzed her for a moment. Thoughts swirled in her head. Is this a kidnapping? A robbery? Is he running from someone? She had heard stories about taxi drivers involved in crime, but this seemed unreal. The pain in her side intensified, reminding her of her vulnerability. "Please, no," she whispered, but the driver was already out of the car, opening the trunk and gesturing. "Get in, lie still, cover yourself with the mat, and not a word." Elizaveta, bewildered and trembling, complied. Her legs felt like lead. She stumbled as she climbed into the cramped trunk. The smell of rubber and dust hit her nostrils. She curled into a ball. The driver threw an old mat over her and slammed the lid shut. Darkness enveloped her like a wave. Her heart pounded so hard she felt it might be audible from outside. What have I done? Why didn't I scream? Why didn't I run? She berated herself, but the fear was stronger. What if he was armed? What if this was some gang dispute? She lay there holding her breath, listening to the sounds. Footsteps approached from outside. The driver got back into the car. The vehicle pulled away, but slowly, as if he were waiting for someone. Several minutes passed, feeling like an eternity. Elizaveta felt sweat trickling down her back, the mat stifling her, the confined space inducing claustrophobia. This is the end, she thought. She remembered her debts, her mother waiting for her call, and how she, Elizaveta, had always been too trusting. Never get into a suspicious taxi, her friends had warned, but who could have guessed? Suddenly, the car stopped again. A door opened and Elizaveta heard a woman's voice. "Thank you for picking me up early, Anatoly." Then a child's cry. "Mom, I'm scared," whimpered a boy about 5 years old. "Hush, my darling. Everything will be all right," the woman replied, settling into the car. The door slammed shut and the car drove on. Elizaveta strained her ears. The woman's voice seemed vaguely familiar. It was tired but firm. "Are you sure this is safe?" she asked the driver. "Yes, I checked. No one is following," he replied quietly. "I have the money with me. 500,000 for you, as agreed. But if anything goes wrong..." Elizaveta froze. Money. 500,000. What was happening here? She tried to piece it together, but everything was still hazy. The woman continued, "My husband, he must not find out. If he finds us, he will kill me. You understand, this isn't just a divorce, it's a matter of life and death." The driver grunted. "I'm aware. Your brother told me. We'll avoid the checkpoints. I know the roads." "And the child? Won't he cry?" "No, I'll give him a sedative. Just get us to the border and I'll pay the rest." Elizaveta felt fear mingling with panic. Was this a kidnapping? Was the driver helping this woman escape? But why had he hidden her? Did he think she was a threat? Or wait, 500,000 was a huge sum of money. She lay still, trying not to move, as the conversation continued. The woman spoke of her husband, a successful businessman who controlled all their finances, beat her, and threatened to take their son away. He had frozen her accounts, but she had secretly withdrawn $3 million. It's my savings, not his. But if he finds out... The driver interrupted. Quiet, we're approaching an interchange. There might be police. Elizaveta realized the driver had stopped to pick up this woman and child. But why had he hidden her? Perhaps he didn't want her to see, or he feared she might report them. The tension mounted. She heard the child's breathing, the rustle of a bag with money. What if this is a scam? She thought. And I'm in the trunk, like an accomplice. The car accelerated, and Elizaveta felt adrenaline coursing through her veins. She didn't understand everything, but her intuition told her, this is no accident. Her trip to the hospital had turned into something more, an intrigue involving money, deceit, and possibly betrayal. But for now, she could only listen and wait. The car drove smoothly, but Elizaveta felt every turn, every bump. The trunk was a cramped coffin, her knees pressed against the back of the front seat, her head against the metal wall. The mat smelled of gasoline and old dust, making her throat scratchy. She tried to breathe shallowly, afraid of betraying herself even with a rustle. The pain in her side pulsed in time with her heartbeat, no longer sharp but dull, exhausting. If it's appendicitis, it must have ruptured by now, she thought. Or maybe not, maybe it's just a spasm from fear. The woman's voice was closer now. She was sitting just behind the partition separating the trunk from the cabin. Occasionally, Elizaveta felt a slight vibration when the woman turned to the child. "Drink some water, little one," the woman said softly. "Don't be afraid, we're almost there." The boy mumbled something sleepily. The sedative seemed to be working. Then the sound of a zipper opening, a bag, the rustle of banknotes. Elizaveta imagined the woman counting the stacks. "It's all here," she said to the driver. 500,000, as agreed? The remaining 200 when we cross the border, and I see that no one is following us." The driver didn't reply immediately. Elizaveta heard him flick on his turn was in Chechnya then. "Well, he was in Chechnya then. Well, he pulled me out from under fire. Since then I owe him. And he said, 'Help my sister if the time comes.' Well, the time has come." The woman was silent for a few seconds. Then quietly, "He never told me that you fought together. Why would he?" The driver chuckled mirthlessly. "He doesn't tell many people anything. He just said, if a woman named Anna calls and says, 'It's time,' then help her. And that's all. Anna." The name struck Elizaveta like a knife. Anna was her childhood best friend's name. No, it couldn't be. A coincidence, but the voice, it was her voice. Anna had married a wealthy man and moved to another city. They had lost touch about 7 years ago. But the name and the child. Anna had always wanted a son. Elizaveta squeezed her eyes shut, trying to remember. Anna's last message was in 2005. "Lisa, I'm happy. Everything is fine." Then silence. And now this woman was talking about a husband who froze her accounts, beat her, and threatened to take her child away. Her heart began to pound even harder. If it was her, why hadn't she called her? Why hadn't she asked for help? What would she have done? She herself was drowning in debt. The thought was bitter. Elizaveta had always considered herself someone reliable, but in recent years, her own life had been falling apart. The car braked sharply. Elizaveta almost hit her head. "Checkpoint," the driver said quietly. "Act naturally, Anna. Don't show nervousness and don't say anything unless they ask." The rustle of clothing, a quiet sob from the boy, then a rap on the window. "Documents," a voice called from outside. Elizaveta held her breath. She heard the driver roll down the window, the sound of papers rustling. "Where are you going so late?" the policeman asked. "To the airport. My sister and nephew are flying out. The flight is early tomorrow morning." A pause. Elizaveta imagined the officer shining a flashlight into the car. "And the trunk. Please open it." Elizaveta's toes turned cold. That's it. They're going to open it. And then what? They'll pull me out, assume I'm an accomplice. Or the driver will say, "I'm a passenger, he forgot." But the driver replied calmly, "Just bags and a stroller in there. It's inconvenient to open. Everything is packed to the brim. I can show you photos if you need." Seconds stretched by unbearably. Then the policeman grumbled, "All right, no need. Drive on. Have a good trip." The car started moving. Anna exhaled so loudly that Elizaveta could hear it even through the partition. "Thank you," she whispered. "I thought that was it. Too early to celebrate," the driver replied. "Another checkpoint ahead, and it's a more serious one. We won't get by with a smile there." Elizaveta lay there, trying to process what she had heard. If this was indeed Anna, she was fleeing her husband with several million in cash. Money her husband considered his. Money that she, by her own admission, had withdrawn secretly. But Elizaveta remembered Anna always saying, "Money is freedom. Without it, you are nothing." And now that freedom lay in a bag on the back seat, and Anna herself was in a car driving her towards the border. And the driver who was helping not for money, but out of an old debt. But why then had he hidden Elizaveta? The answer came suddenly, like a flash, because she was an accidental witness. She had seen the driver's face, knew where he had picked up the fugitives. If she had remained in the back seat, she might have remembered Anna, the child, the conversation, and then recounted it. Anna's husband had surely stirred up everyone, hired private investigators, and leveraged his connections in the police. One call, and the car would be stopped. And a witness in the cabin was a risk. So the driver decided it was better to hide a random passenger than to explain to the police who she was. Elizaveta felt a mixture of fear and resentment. She was a burden, a useless element from whom they could simply get rid. The thought made her even more frightened. The car accelerated again. Anna spoke more quietly. "And what about that woman you were driving before me? You sent a message before picking me up saying there would be a passenger." The driver was silent. "She's in the trunk." Anna gasped. "Are you crazy? She could suffocate in there. There's ventilation, and she's silent. For now." Elizaveta closed her eyes. Now Anna knew. And then what? "Stop the car." Anna's voice became firm. "Now, we'll let her out. I don't want anyone to suffer because of me, a stranger." "We can't," the driver cut her off. "If she's seen here next to you, they'll connect everything. She'll be interrogated. She'll reveal where we were going, and it's over." "Then what are you going to do with her?" Anna's voice held panic. The driver didn't reply immediately. "I'll take her to a safe place," he finally said. "I'll let her go, but only when it's too late to look for you." Elizaveta felt tears stinging her eyes. She didn't know if she should believe him, but she had no choice. She could only lie there and listen, hoping that Anna was indeed her Anna, and that she wouldn't let the driver do anything bad. The car turned onto a dirt road. The asphalt ended, and potholes began. Every jolt sent a sharp pain through her side. "I won't make it," she thought, but she remained silent because now silence was her only weapon. The road turned into a continuous rattling. Elizaveta no longer tried to count the turns, having lost count after the 10th. Time in the trunk flowed differently, sometimes freezing, sometimes accelerating in jerks, like a pulse. The pain in her side became a constant background noise, no longer sharp bursts, but a heavy, oppressive presence. She felt as if something inside was swelling, pressing against her ribs, making it difficult to breathe. She heard Anna occasionally whisper to her son, "Sleep, my good boy, sleep." The boy barely moved. Apparently, the medicine kept him half asleep. Sometimes Anna adjusted his jacket, and the fabric rustled right by the partition. Elizaveta imagined her face, her delicate features, her light hair, always with a slightly apologetic smile. The same Anna who in school shared her sandwiches when Liza didn't have money for lunch. The one who was the first to know that Liza had a crush on a classmate and kept the secret for 3 years. "Why didn't you call me?" Elizaveta asked mentally. The answer came on its own. Shame. Money, a rich husband, a new life. It all looked so beautiful from the outside, but inside it was a cage. And now the cage was broken, but the price was several million and a flight across half the country. The driver turned on the radio, very quietly, almost inaudibly. News. The announcer's voice was cheerful, as always on the evening broadcast. In a major regional center, the search continues for the wife of prominent entrepreneur Anna Svetlitskaya. According to her husband, the woman disappeared with her 5-year-old son and a significant sum of cash. The police are considering a kidnapping scenario, but do not rule out a voluntary departure. A reward of 3 million rubles is offered for information. The driver abruptly turned off the radio. "He's already announced a reward." Anna's voice trembled. 3 million for me and the child, like criminals." The driver replied calmly, "That means he's nervous. The more noise, the faster his own people will start asking questions. And he has many people, and not all of them are loyal." "Do you think he'll find us?" "Not yet. We're driving on old roads where there are almost no cameras. But the border is a gamble. Customs, border guards. If your husband has used his connections, we might be expected." Elizaveta felt a chill run down her spine. The border. So they weren't going to the airport. They were going abroad. Anna was leaving forever with her son, with the money, and she, Elizaveta, had been drawn into this. Suddenly, the car slowed down. The driver turned off the headlights. The darkness became absolute. "What?" Anna whispered. "Lights ahead. 2 cars are parked across the road, not police, too far from the highway, likely as men." Anna sobbed. "What do we do? Wait. If we go forward, they'll notice. If we turn back, they will too. There's a path to the left across the field, but it's just a dirt road. We risk getting stuck." Elizaveta lay there, not daring to move. She pictured 2 men with flashlights, with guns. They would open the trunk, see her, decide she was an accomplice or just a witness. In either case, she was superfluous. The driver exhaled. "Hold on, we'll try to go around." He wrenched the steering wheel. The car left the road. The wheels crunched on the grass, then on soft earth. Elizaveta was thrown from side to side. The pain became unbearable. She bit her lip to keep from groaning. The car tilted, the engine roared, but they were moving. For 10 or 20 minutes, they crawled in the darkness. Then the driver stopped. "We're out." The field ended, then asphalt again, but on a different highway. Anna began to cry softly, almost silently. "I can't anymore. If they catch us, he'll take Sasha. He said he'd make a man out of him. He already hit him once because Sasha cried when his father yelled at me." Elizaveta felt tears streaming down her own cheeks. She remembered how Anna used to defend her from bullies, and now she herself was a victim, with no one to protect her. The driver spoke. For the first time in a long time, his voice held weariness. "We're almost there," he said quietly, almost a whisper, as if afraid even these words might reach eavesdropping ears. "Another hour, maybe a little less, and we're at the border. A man is waiting for me there. Reliable. He'll take you across the river on foot. It's shallow, waist deep at most. You'll pay him the money immediately, 250,000. "And her?" asked Anna, referring to Elizaveta. The driver was silent. "I'll let her go here," he finally said, "right on this dirt road. I'll give her an old phone. She can call an ambulance. She'll say she got a ride by chance, that she doesn't know anything, didn't see anything, didn't hear anything. By the time the information reaches the police or your husband's people, you'll be long gone." Elizaveta winced. They were talking about her like an object, deciding her fate. Anna suddenly said, "No, we won't abandon her here alone. She's sick, and I think I know her. This must be Liza, my childhood Liza." The driver exhaled sharply. "Are you absolutely certain?" "Yes," Liza replied. "When you mentioned the passenger, Elizaveta Kassir, 32 years old, living on Lilac Street. Name and address?" "I believe it's her," Liza whispered, tears welling up and streaming down her face. Her voice, though barely audible, was clear enough to be heard. "Anna!" The silence in the car became deafening. Anna turned toward the partition. "Liza, for goodness sake, is it really you?" Elizaveta nodded, though Anna couldn't see her. "Yes." Anna burst into tears. "I'm so sorry, Liza. I never meant to get you involved. I truly didn't. It's just that no one could be trusted. We had to leave home sooner than planned. Anatoly mentioned he'd already picked up a passenger, and I thought, oh well, we'll drop her off along the way. But when I heard your address, your profession, I realized. And then it was too late." "It seems to be fate," Liza murmured. "Perhaps this was meant to happen." The driver cursed softly. "This has complicated things immensely. She's not a random passenger. She knows you. If they find her, they'll trace it back to you." "Then take all of us," Liza stated firmly without a hint of hesitation. "All 3 of us, across the border. I have enough money for the 3 of us, for tickets, for documents, for the initial period. More than enough." Elizaveta felt the world tilt. Not the car, but the world within her. To flee forever. To abandon her job, difficult but familiar. To leave behind debts that could never be repaid. To leave her mother, who waited for her call every evening. But Mother would understand. She always had. And the debts, if Anna was telling the truth, if there were indeed several million in cash hidden in the bag on the back seat, then this was no longer a game. This was a chance, a real chance, to start anew. The driver remained silent for a long time, then said, "Decide quickly. It's 30 minutes to the border. If we don't take her, she gets out here and now, or she goes with you, but then there's no turning back." Anna tapped on the partition. "Liza, do you hear me? If you want to get out, I'll understand. But if you want to come with us, I won't leave you alone. Never again." Elizaveta closed her eyes. Pain, fear, exhaustion, it all swirled together, but deep down, something warm stirred. Friendship, the kind that doesn't die even after 7 years of silence. She whispered, "I'm coming with you." The car jolted slightly, as if Anatoly had momentarily pressed the accelerator harder, either out of relief or annoyance. Then he simply nodded to himself in the darkness and switched off the headlights. Now they glided almost imperceptibly, a black shadow among the black night, guided only by the pale moonlight and the driver's memory. The final kilometers to the border were covered along a barely visible dirt track, winding between old gnarled poplar trees whose branches scraped the roof like the fingers of the dead. Elizaveta felt her body grow heavy. The pain in her side had become a constant burning, as if a small fire had been lit within her. Sweat streamed down her temples, mixing with her tears. She no longer tried to stifle her moans. They escaped in short, choked gasps. Anna heard her. "Liza, hang on, please, just a little longer." Elizaveta couldn't answer. She had almost no strength left to speak, only to think. "If I die here, in this metal box, in a stranger's car, on a strange road, at least I won't be alone. Anna is beside me, just like in childhood. Remember how we hid from the thunderstorm in the old shed? You held my hand then and whispered, 'Don't be afraid, Liska. Lightning won't get us. We're together.' And I believed you. I always believed you." The driver finally stopped. The engine fell silent. The silence was so profound that the distant bark of a dog could be heard. "We're here," he said softly. "On foot from here. The river is 100 meters away. It's a ford. The water is waist deep, but it's shallow now. My man is waiting on the other side with a car." Anna opened the door. The cold night air rushed into the cabin. She leaned towards the partition. "Liza, I'm going to open the trunk. You can walk." Elizaveta gathered her remaining strength. "I'll try." The trunk lid lifted. The moonlight illuminated her face, pale and wet with sweat. Anna gasped, seeing how Elizaveta clutched her side. "My God, you're burning up." The driver approached and helped her out. Elizaveta's legs buckled. He caught her by the elbow. "Hold on to me. We'll go slowly." They moved towards the river. Anna carried her sleeping son in her arms, the bag of money on her shoulder. The boy breathed evenly, his head nestled against her neck. Elizaveta walked, leaning on the driver. Each step sent a flash of pain through her, but she walked because on the other side was a chance. The river turned out to be narrow, about 30 meters wide. The water shimmered like silver under the moon. On the opposite bank, a faint flashlight flickered, a signal. "That's him," Anatoly nodded. "Let's go." They stepped into the water. The cold stung their feet, then rose higher, up to their waists. Elizaveta gasped from the icy shock, but Anna extended her free hand. "Hold on to me, we're together." They walked in a chain, the driver in front. Behind him, Elizaveta, holding on to Anna, Anna with her child. The water swirled, carrying debris, smelling of silt and wet earth. In the middle, Elizaveta stumbled, almost falling. Anna gripped her fingers tightly. "Don't let go," she whispered. They emerged on the other bank, wet and shivering. A man with a flashlight, short and wearing a dark jacket, approached silently. He took an envelope of money from Anna and counted it quickly. "Half is here," he said. "The rest when we reach the city. The car is in the bushes." The driver nodded. "You'll go on without me. I'm returning. I need to cover our tracks." Anna turned to him. "Thank you. I'll never forget." He simply waved his hand. "The debt to your brother is settled." Then he looked at Elizaveta. "There's a first aid kit in the car. It has painkillers and antibiotics. They'll get you to a clinic. Tell them it's acute appendicitis. They'll understand." Elizaveta nodded weakly. Tears flowed again, this time from relief. An old tinted window SUV waited. Anna settled her son on the back seat, then helped Elizaveta get in. She sat beside her, putting her arm around her friend's shoulders. "It's all behind us, Liza. We're together." The car started moving. The headlights were switched on only after several kilometers, when they reached a proper road. Elizaveta leaned back against the seat. The pain still burned, but it was bearable now. She looked out the window at the fleeting lights of a foreign country. Tomorrow, a new life. Without debts, without fear, with Anna and her son. "What's next?" she asked quietly. Anna smiled. For the first time all night, she smiled genuinely. "First, the hospital. You'll have surgery, then a hotel. I'll call my brother. He'll help with the documents. And the money is enough for all of us. For your treatment, for accommodation, for Sasha's school, and for you to have a new life. Without loans." Elizaveta closed her eyes. "I thought this was the end." "No," Anna replied. "This is the beginning." The car continued on, carrying them away from their past. Somewhere behind them lay debts, a cruel husband, police checkpoints, and ahead, uncertainty and hope. Elizaveta had surgery on time. She lay in a clean room in a small private clinic. There were no complications. Anna sat beside her, holding her hand. Sasha drew cars on the windowsill. "You know," Elizaveta said, "I was going to the hospital alone, but I arrived with a family." Anna wept quietly, happily. "And you will never be alone again."